Inaugurated this committee on the 11th of September 2018. And the committee is a fact-finding committee as regards the constant farmers and herders clashes which unraveled on senseless killing and the destruction of properties in the dear country, Nigeria. Among the terms of reference were to determine the immediate and remote causes of the clashes, determine triggers of the crisis as they occur across the country, determine the extent of foreign involvement, if any, among others. Gentlemen, the committee had its inaugural sitting that same day in my office, and the aim was to map out how we work out and succeed in terms of the committee's assignment. And we came to agreement to visit the key states that were affected with the crisis at that time, namely Benue State, Nasarawa, Taraba, Zamfara, and Katsina State. The team set out to Jalingo on the 31st of September, where we met with government officials of the state and key stakeholders, that is members of the Net Allah and the All Farmers Association, members of All Farmers Association of Nigeria. It's worthy to note that in all the states we visited, we were given a cordial reception and welcome, except one of the states, which was Zamfara State. The visit to Katsina State was for us to study their model, because as at that time, Katsina was very, very peaceful. It was to study how did they make it to achieve the long-lasting, peaceful coexistence in the state at that time. We observed the model and discovered that it was a kind of an amnesty program which the state introduced. And at the end of the day, Katsina now started having a problem. And why was the problem? So came back to Katsina. This was, we discovered that because of the military bombardment in Zamfara State, most of the bandits had to move back to Katsina State. So we now came with the conclusion that this is not a one-state affair. It has to take all the contiguous states within the area to put hands together to arrive at a lasting solution on the crisis, on the banditry, the farmers' other crisis as well. This was a result, like I said, was a result of the military bombardment in the state. Gentlemen, you will discover that the committee took a long time to work. It took us 5 months. This was as a result of request by some state governors on visiting. They were not in town, and they actually wanted to meet members of the committee, and we had to reschedule our movement back to the states. So we had about 2 months rescheduling of movement. So still what you to note is that all this movement, except movement from Abuja to Jalingo, all others were by road. You can understand the terrain and the difficulties in which we operated. But to God be the glory, we went, we saw, and we conquered. In His grace today, we are submitting our report to the Honorable Minister. And sir, we just hope that this committee will assist you in finding the lasting, the recommendation forwarded by the committee will form a kind of lasting solution, at least a micro solution to end the farmers' health clashes in Nigeria. With that, sir, I want to submit the report to the Honorable Minister, sir. Just come.
Pastoralists and farmers in Nigeria. I'm happy after 6 months of intensive work, the committee has submitted its report today. I'm aware of some of the challenges and difficulties you experience in some of the areas you visited. As you earlier mentioned, the conflict between farmers and herders has been a common feature due to economic livelihood or control of resources in a given area for political reasons. Farmers-herders differences are not only seen as resource conflicts, but sometimes represented as a critical conflict involving two groups. Since farmers and herders groups have very different values, customs, physical and cultural characteristics, disputes between them are frequently characterized with violent conflict resulting to loss of precious lives and properties. As you are aware of violent conflict between the nomadic herders and the agrarian communities in Nigeria, it has escalated in recent years, threatening our nation's security and political stability. These clashes are becoming potentially dangerous as that of Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast and in the Lake Chad region. These conflicts were historical conflicts. Too recently, they have assumed some dangerous dimension. Previous response to address the critics of federal, state, and local government levels have been very poor. The present administration, under the able leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, has taken immediate steps to address the problem. Efforts were made by the government to reform livestock management practices, address negative environmental trends, and curb cross-border movement of both cattle rustlers and armed banditry. It is also important to mention here that the technological and economic changes are key to addressing some of the farmers-herders' violent conflict. However, we should know that the traditional way of doing things always affects what environment portends. We have not been able to change the agricultural technological usage. Up to date, the farmers still use their hoes to farm. So you can't expect the others to be technologically advanced when the others said are still lagging behind. They all belong to the same category. So it's a result of this constant loss. That is why this committee was formed, and I have had some of the highlights of the committee report. I believe it will assist the ministry and the military in solving some of these issues. Finally, I want to thank the chairman and members of the committee for a job well done. I also want to assure Nigerians that the federal government will study the report with a view of adopting all its recommendations that will bring lasting solution to this historical farmers-herders conflict in Nigeria. Thank you all.